What's up? What's
What's
up?
up, YouTube family? What's up?
All right, YouTube, we are back. And this one is the top 5 issues facing Black Americans.
Okay.
I haven't saw this one yet. You haven't either.
No,
Um,
I don't see
I.
play.
He don't see him until I press play, unless we watch it beforehand. But this one had me intrigued. I was like, you know what? Let's watch this one. I think this would be a good one.
Right.
Cause I'll be surprised. You know what?
Did you look at some of
Should
it?
I looked at some of it just to hear the intro and everything, and I was like, oh my god, I think he'll enjoy this one.
Okay.
So
let's
the top
get to
5 issues facing Black Americans.
Alrighty.
What are the 5 biggest issues facing blacks in America? Here's my list. Problem number 5, the victim mentality. Nothing holds someone back more than seeing himself as a victim. Why? Because the victim is not responsible for his situation. Everything is someone else's fault. And the victim sees little chance of improving his life. How can he get ahead if someone is holding him back? All this makes the victim unhappy, frustrated, and angry. This is how too many blacks see themselves, as victims. So much so that their victim status becomes their primary identity and their ruling ideology. I call it victimology. Unfortunately, many black churches preach this victimology. Many black parents pass it on to their children, inner city schools teach it to their students, and the black media reinforce it. Meanwhile, the NAACP and other black grievance groups fundraise on it. Problem number 4, lack of diversity. Blacks repeatedly demand an honest dialogue or debate about race. But how can there ever be an honest dialogue about race between blacks and whites when there is virtually no honest dialogue between blacks and blacks? It's hypocritical. And if a black doesn't think whites are ultimately responsible for black people's problems, they're labeled a sellout, Uncle Tom, or race traitor. As long as this type of groupthink exists, race reverence of the Al Sharpton, Jesse Jackson type will continue to be celebrated, while independent black thinkers such as Professors Thomas Sowell and Walter Williams will be shunned. The honest race dialogue and debate that first has to happen is not between blacks and whites, but between blacks and blacks. We demand diversity from others, but need to practice it ourselves where it really matters, in thought, opinion, and even political affiliation. Problem number 3, urban terrorism. As just about everyone knows, but too few talk about publicly, in majority black cities, violent black-on-black crime is rampant. A Department of Justice study from 1980 through 2008 revealed that blacks accounted for almost half of the nation's homicide victims, 47.4%, and more than half of the offenders, 52.4%, all while being 13% of America's population. The Tuskegee Institute conducted a study of all known lynchings of blacks that occurred between 1882 through 1968. During this 86-year span, which is essentially the post-Civil War era up to the Civil Rights era, 3,446 blacks were reportedly lynched. Presently, black-on-black murder eclipses the number of blacks lynched over the course of 80 years, roughly every 6 months. Unbelievably, the culpability for this disproportionate amount of mayhem actually lies with a menacing 2 to 3% minority within the black populace. I call them urban terrorists. And since they're literally spawned from problem number 2, the black community protects them. Problem number 2, proliferation of baby mamas. The disintegration of the nuclear family has led to an astronomical increase of single mother households. According to the Moynihan Report, in 1965, nearly 25% of black children were born to unwed mothers. The report's author, Daniel Patrick Moynihan, said this was a disaster in the making. He was, of course, vilified by so-called black leaders and their progressive allies. But he was right. Today, the out-of-wedlock birth rate is nearly 75% and even higher in some urban areas.
Crazy.
To be clear, baby daddies share this responsibility with baby mamas. Yet, while baby daddies are blamed and rarely shown compassion, baby mamas are rarely blamed and receive both compassion and support. This lopsided dynamic and the previously listed pathologies stem directly from the number 1 problem facing the black community. Problem number 1, unquestioning allegiance to so-called progressive policies. Unwavering loyalty to progressive liberal policies is the primary reason these dire conditions persist. It both makes them possible and perpetuates them. It's no coincidence that progressivism is the common thread that binds predominantly black cities where single-parent homes, failing schools, rampant poverty, and crime predominate. Look at cities like Detroit, Philadelphia, and Baltimore. They've been run by progressive Democrats for decades. If their liberal policies were at all effective, these cities should have become models of economic growth and prosperity. Instead, they're models of dysfunction. By fostering and exploiting the victim mentality, discouraging self-examination, subsidizing baby mamas, and making excuses for black thugs, so-called progressive policies don't alleviate the problems that afflict the black community. They aggravate those problems. You may have noticed that racism did not make the list. Why not? It's simple. There will be no solution to the problems afflicting Black America until more blacks recognize that the issues plaguing our community are ultimately self-inflicted. Does racism exist? Sure, but there are other problems far more serious. And waiting until there are no more races will mean waiting and making excuses forever. I'm Taleeb Starks for Prager University.
Wow. Man, he said a mouthful. There's nothing else I can say. He said it all.
He said it all. Yeah. He said it all. I mean, accurate. 100%. Yes, racism is there, but you can't say you're going to, I'm going to go to college when racism is no longer an issue.
Yeah.
Racism is not an issue for you. Now you're playing the victim.
Yeah. Yeah, I know when I was in child support, remember those days.
Do not miss the child support days.
I go to court, and they were so more concerned with receiving money than they was me spending time with the kid. You know what I'm saying? I had to express that. I said, look, man, you guys got me in this court for no reason. I'm taking on work because you guys making mistakes, and now I'm in the court, and then when I get here, you guys say, oh, never mind, and I took a whole day off. I said, what about me seeing my child? I said, she's holding my child back. I've been filing petitions. No, I don't know what's called petitions, but I've been filing petitions to get my child, and I can't afford a lawyer. But y'all give her a lawyer. I said, I thought it was upon the courts. If you can't afford a lawyer, give you a lawyer. I said, but the man don't get a lawyer, but y'all give the women a lawyer. I said, how's that right? I'm filing these petitions myself. And
don't get it wrong. Don't get the petition wrong or incorrect.
It's like
if you get it incorrect,
they find a loophole to go around it. And I said, I haven't seen my child. Y'all don't want to. I'm talking to you right now. You telling me you can't give me the address. I'm like, you're more concerned with money than you are me spending time with my child. And that was the problem with me. So I agree with him when he says that they favor the woman more than the man. He pointed the finger at the man.
Like you don't want to be there.
It was crazy, man. I seen some stuff in the courtroom. I'm like, man. I seen one time, and I don't want to get off topic.
It's on topic.
The woman was saying, hey, I don't want him to go to jail. Her baby daddy, I don't want to go to jail. I just want to kind of make sure we arrange his stuff where he make his payments. I said, she was like, okay, cool. So the lawyer was like, look, we can take him to jail right now. So we're like, he can go to jail. And you sure you don't want to go to jail? She said, no. What good is that going to do? Me sending him to jail. And she kept saying, he kept saying, no, we could put him in jail. And she kept saying, I just said I don't want him in jail. And it was the same
but
guy.
It's still the fault finding.
It was the same lawyer.
Yeah.
And I forgot his name. It was always that same lawyer. And I'm like, my God, man.
Yeah.
This man just want to send people to jail. How can the dad, which is a non-custodian, pay child support while he in jail?
He can't. And then he goes to jail because he's behind. Right. So then you have that, and then you also have the back to the single parent. Or even just the fact of the child just going out, running around with no direction. And then, of course, they get in trouble. And it's your fault. Your child got in trouble when you are just trying to, hey, you don't need to do that. You don't need to do that.
I really think
you want to be an
I
upstanding
really think
citizen.
There should be something in place. Yes, if you have a child, you're responsible. You need to pay some money. That's the bottom line. But I think that they need to get to a point where they're saying, "Hey, look, and that may seem a little bit out of order what I'm saying, but pull them back into court if they're not spending time with their kid." Because every father needs to be in their child's life. Mm-hmm. Every mother needs to be in their child's life. Yeah. And I think that if you make it equal about money and spending time, I think that'd be awesome.
But it's like they're still tearing down traditional families at this point because you still have it where these policies are put in place to where it's like, oh, a traditional mom and dad family is not what they're looking for. I mean, he listed three states that, of course, should have never visited there myself. Mm-hmm. But those are the states that people say, "Oh, I'm never going there. I'm never going to Philadelphia. Okay. I'm never going to go to Philadelphia, Detroit, or Baltimore." Yeah. Oh yeah. Because of the crime rate. Okay.
What's the name of the movie? It's called
Why are they still?
The Wire. Remember the movie The Wire? And what they'll do is they'll ride around. I got the school police officers. They'll ride around and pick somebody up. Say, "Hey, look, man, you just go to school for the day, and they'll pay." For the school. Mm-hmm. I'm like, what? So
just go to school, just so the school can get money, but the kids are not learning anything.
And they'll be like, just go to school for that day, we good. And I'm like, do they do that? And I'm like, and they said it was for real. Truant officers.
I mean, it could be. I mean, I know here we encourage the kids to go to schools, but of course, we have to take account of how many days a child is at school. We have to turn into the school board and everything like right there, but. How they was doing it on that show, it was like, okay, they only got funded. They of course based the funding off of like the kids' attendance daily, which of course the kids should be at school every day. But they can do it still back to Detroit, Philadelphia, Baltimore.
I went to help you get your stuff in school one time, but I went to one of those kids' bathrooms, man. I'm like, oh my God, man, this is nasty.
Old,
everything look old, rusty, all kind of. Lime, whatever you want, grime, whatever you want to call it. And I'm like, man, come on, man. And you go to some areas like where my son lived further out or whatever, I say Augustine, and it's like you go to the school, you're like, oh my God. Wow.
It is so different.
This is nice.
Yeah, this is nice. Ain't no roaches or nothing.
No, I ain't never seen roaches. You seen roaches? Yeah, roaches?
We had roaches in school.
God. Man, y'all gotta
I don't know if I should say that or
y'all
not.
gotta do better, man. Don't say what school. Just don't say what school.
I'm not saying what school. But, sorry. No, I ain't saying. I didn't say that.
Hey, we go.
I didn't say that.
We gonna call.
But yes, I like how he hit on everything. He hit on a lot of things that black Americans are facing. But my thing is this: the biggest thing, number 5, was the victim mentality. I think removing that victim mentality from yourself will help you alleviate the other issues. Because now you're staying a victim and you're thinking that it's everybody's issue, everybody's fault that you're somewhere. Listen, if you let go of victim mentality, just imagine how much more, thought process of sense you'll have.
It's so much easier to become a victim
please.
To own up to your responsibility.
Yeah, I guess so.
Think about it. It's easy to be a victim than to own up that, hey, you need to get your stuff together.
Right. Well, a victim no more. Well, never was. I'm sorry. Let me say that. Never was a victim. Never played the whole victim card. I just don't see how people play the victim card.
I played it. Yeah. I dealt the hand and everything.
Because you played them cards for yourself. I don't understand that.
In that group where, like he was saying, that the parents was teaching their kids this. So I was in the group where.
But it was a when they go back to like generational curses. What can they be included in that? If it's like passed down, parents passing this down from their kids. I
call it just hand-me-downs, man. You know how you hand down clothes?
Yeah.
You hand down victim mentality.
Victim mentality, yeah, I guess. I listen. My grandmother lost her 6 kids, her mom, and her sister on the same day in a really bad car accident. And the person that was driving was my uncle. Her brother, he ended up becoming just a drunk. But you know what my grandma did? She took care of him until she died. He was in a motorized chair. She in a motorized chair. He sick from cancer. She's sick. She took care of him. She still lost 6 kids. Her mama, his mom as well, and their little sister on the same day in a car accident that he caused. She went on to have 6 more kids, met my grandfather, they got married, and they built a family and helped to raise my sisters and myself. I did not know that my grandmother, I knew she lost her kids, but I did not know she lost her mother and her sister on the same day, driven in a car by my uncle. I didn't even know it was my uncle driving until we found a news article about the incident. But it was just to see her go. Never really, actually, no, she never said that she hated him or, looked at him anyway. But it took years before I still can't believe it to this day that he was the one that was driving this car that caused his mother, his baby sister, and my grandma's 6 kids to, die.
So she could have been saying, woe unto me.
The whole time. But she didn't.
She didn't.
She kept pushing. She worked. She had 6 more kids. And my mom was included in that 6. But just look.
But
just
she was a powerful woman of God, man.
Just thinking about her story.
You talking about somebody that's still on the word, that had a relationship
Always.
with God? Oh, man.
She would take her motorized chair and her umbrella and roll around the corner to go to the church that was around the corner. Or she'll get her a ride and go to but everywhere. I mean, she was an awesome woman. And that's who I, aspired to look up to. It's sad that she lose her mother and her kids on the same day. But look at how it didn't make her a victim. Mm-hmm. It didn't make her a victim.
Yeah.
So that's what I got on that one. But I enjoyed this one. This was a good one.
Yeah, me too.
All right, you two, don't forget to like and subscribe.
Yes.
And we will catch you guys later.
Peace.